You already know what you should have done. What matters now is how you explain why you didn't. Most people don't lie to others. They lie to themselves, quietly. Not the dramatic kind of lying, but the kind that slips in when the lights are off and the day is already decided. You replay moments that didn't sit right, things you didn't say, things you didn't do, and before they can fully take shape, a story arrives. It sounds reasonable, calm. It sounds like you. I didn't have a choice. It wasn't my responsibility. It wouldn't have made a difference. The tension softens, the edges blur, and you fall asleep. This isn't weakness. It isn't evil. It's something far older than morality. It's a mechanism, one that happens in ordinary moments. Standing in a room where something feels off, watching a line get crossed, slowly enough to be deniable. Sensing discomfort, then immediately explaining it away. Your body reacts first, a tightening, a hesitation. Then the explanation arrives to smooth it over. The contradiction is simple. The same system that keeps you functional also teaches you how to look away. And it does it gently, so gently you barely notice it happening. The mind is not built for truth, it's built for continuity. Your mind is a quiet architect. It rearranges what you see before you even notice. Every thought, every choice, calibrated for ease. Because of this, surprises become expensive, and uncertainty suddenly dangerous. And yet, most people never see how deeply it shapes their choices. What it decides for you before you even realize it. So when your actions don't match your values, the mind doesn't panic. It edits. Your memory becomes flexible. Intent becomes more important than impact. Context becomes a shield. This is cognitive dissonance, not a breakdown, but a solution. A shortcut that keeps your self-image intact. And layered on top is social alignment. From an early age, you learn what threatens belonging. You learn when silence is safer than truth. You learn how far you can push before you're pushed back. So when something feels wrong but everyone else seems calm, your perception adjusts. Not consciously, automatically. If no one reacts, the signal weakens. If no one objects, the cost of objection rises. Soon, not reacting feels like the correct response. This is when emotions like empathy and remorse blur into a means of currency rather than a moral obligation. You have a limited capacity for distress, so the mind triages. It decides what you can afford to feel and what you can't. This isn't corruption, it's efficiency, and efficiency is how the story forms. At first, the cost is invisible. You'll notice it in small silences. A pause before speaking. A moment of doubt where certainty used to live. Then you start to explain instead of respond, analyze instead of act, intellectualize instead of feeling. Empathy doesn't disappear, it thins. And sometimes, it disappears completely, in ways you'll only notice later. Fear doesn't vanish. Instead, it becomes selective. The story does its job well, too well. History is built on this mechanism. Not villains, but ordinary people making sense of their days. Over time, the line between explanation and justification fades. The story becomes smoother, more convincing, automatic. You'll see it everywhere once you know how to look. You notice it in groups, when decisions are made no one fully agrees with, but everyone accepts. You see it in public, when suffering is visible but responsibility feels diffuse. Online, when outrage is consumed like content and abandoned. There are patterns most will never recognize. But once you do, you can't unsee them. You notice it in hierarchies, where authority replaces judgment, and obedience feels safer than intuition. You'll notice it in silence. Especially in silence. Moments where something could have been said and wasn't. Each time, the same logic appears. Not cruel, practical. It's complicated. It's not my place. Someone else will handle it. These aren't excuses, they're adaptations. They allow you to function, to belong. They allow you to sleep. The story you tell yourself at night isn't something to destroy, it's something to watch. Notice how quickly it arrives, how confidently it speaks, how relieved you feel when it does. Awareness doesn't require rebellion, it doesn't require heroism. It only requires seeing the story without immediately obeying it, acknowledging the little white lies that form to spare your conscience. Because once you recognize its shape, once you feel it forming in real time, it never works quite the same again. The room goes dark, the day replays, the story begins, and this time, you're watching it. The story is yours. Watch it. What you heard isn't a theory, it's a pattern. A shadow moving through ordinary moments, shared smiles, familiar voices, the silent compromises no one acknowledges. The story you tell yourself at night isn't something that people necessarily enjoy acknowledging, but recognition doesn't need permission. It only needs your attention. Be sure to leave a like and a comment of an experience that didn't quite sit right within your moral compass. And in the next video, we'll touch on another psychological mechanism that uncovers the real human code.